ever, like mid-argument, maybe on the phone, and your cat gives you this look and you're like, dude, are you judging me right now? Gets me every time. But, it makes you wonder, what's going on in those furry little heads of theirs?
Yeah.
And more importantly, are we like accidentally breaking their trust without even realizing it? That's what we're diving into today, right?
Totally. And, it's easy to think of cats as these, like, totally aloof creatures, but they're actually super sensitive to, like, everything around them, especially early on. Those kittenhood experiences really shape how much they trust us as they grow up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like their trust is this precious little, I don't know, like a little seedling or something.
Kind of
Nurture it, right?
Exactly.
So speaking of nurturing, we've been digging through tons of research on this, and honestly, it's kind of blown my mind how differently cats experience the world. Like take their hearing, for example.
Oh, yeah.
One study we found said that for a cat, like a vacuum cleaner is basically like us experiencing a sonic boom.
Seriously, it's wild.
Wild, right?
It makes you realize why they might, like, bolt under the bed when you're just trying to tidy up. What seems loud to us is, like, next level for them.
Totally.
Yeah.
So basically, we need to be super mindful of the noise level in our homes. Like even just a loud conversation could be stressful for them, huh?
Oh, for sure. And think about it, cats, they can, like, pinpoint where sounds are coming from so precisely, right?
Oh yeah, like way better than we can.
Right. So if their favorite human, the one they depend on for everything, if that voice suddenly gets all loud and stuff.
Whoa, yeah. It's like a betrayal almost. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I thought we were cool.
Totally. It's a big deal for them, for sure. And what's even crazier, their memory for these, like, kind of traumatic events.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like remember that one time you accidentally stepped on their tail like 5 years ago?
Seriously, they've got, like, elephant memories for that stuff.
It's true. But okay, it's not just like the obviously bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
What about when we think we're just playing around being silly? Like, I admit I've been guilty of, maybe pulling their tail a little or like
Yeah.
startling them for fun.
We've all been there.
But now I'm wondering, is that messed up?
Well, here's the thing. Cats are all about associating, right? They're like little scientists, always figuring out cause and effect.
Oh, yeah, that's why they're so good at training us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what we might see as harmless teasing, to them it can be like, whoa, hold on, my human just did what?
Yeah, because like they totally rely on us for their safety and security, right? So when we're the ones doing the startling.
Exactly. It can be really confusing for them. It messes with their whole sense of who they can trust.
And in some cases, it can even lead to like serious behavioral issues. There's this thing called hyperesthesia syndrome, and it's basically like their skin becomes super sensitive, especially around their tail and back end. Imagine if someone patted you on the back and it like sent chills down your spine. Not cool.
Not cool at all. It's heartbreaking, really, when you think about it.
It is. And it's a good reminder that even if we think we're just playing, we really got to be mindful of how our actions are perceived.
Totally. Their trust is a fragile thing.
Exactly. Okay, so we're talking about keeping the volume down, laying off the funny surprises. What about roughhousing? Is a little playful swatting ever okay, or are we just asking for trouble?
So playtime, it's huge for cats, right? It's how they burn off energy, hone those hunting instincts.
Oh yeah, go nuts for good laser pointer chase.
Right. But here's the thing. When they're tiny kittens, those little nips and scratches, no biggie. But as they grow,
Both paws turn into weapons.
they do. And if we haven't set those boundaries early on, it's easy to accidentally teach them that our hands are fair game.
It's like we're saying, hey, human skin is basically a giant chew toy. Not the message we want to send, right?
Exactly. And once those habits are ingrained, it can be really tough to break.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about respecting those feline boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? Like not messing with her stuff, letting them sleep.
Important stuff.
It is. But there's one topic, kind of a big one, that we got to address head on. And it's tough, but it's about declawing.
Yeah, definitely a tough one. And honestly, it's a procedure that's often, I think, really misunderstood.
Big time. Like people hear declawing and think, oh, like trimming their nails.
Right, exactly. Like a fancy manicure or something.
Yeah. But one of the sources we found, it said it's basically like amputating a human finger at the knuckle.
Whoa. Yeah, intense, right?
Yeah, that really puts it in perspective. It does, doesn't it? And we're not just talking about like the immediate pain either. We're talking about potential long-term health problems, behavioral issues.
Oh, absolutely. the impact of that kind of surgery,
Yeah.
it can be really far-reaching, even years later.
Totally. Like, did you know that declawed cats are actually more likely to bite?
It's true, yeah. And it makes sense when you really think about it.
It does.
Yeah, because their claws, right, that's their main way of defending themselves. So if you take that
I
away,
got to resort to something else.
right, and for a cat, that's something else is usually their teeth.
Makes you wonder about those litter box issues, too.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to, do your business after that kind of surgery.
I know, right? It's gotta be so uncomfortable. Scratching, digging, even just walking around, it can be painful for them.
No wonder so many countries are like, nope, not happening here. It's banned or restricted in a lot of places now.
It is, and for good reason. It's a serious procedure with potentially really serious consequences.
Absolutely. But the good news is there are alternatives. Lots of things we could do instead, right?
Right, for sure. And it starts with those scratching posts.
Okay, yeah, those are key. But not just any old scratching post, huh?
Right, gotta be picky.
Picky how?
Well, cats have preferences, just like us, you know. Some like to scratch horizontally.
Right.
Some are all about that vertical life. Some love Cecil. Others are all about that cardboard feel.
So it's like, find their scratching style.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
make sure they've got what they need.
Makes sense. And of course, keeping those nails trimmed is important too.
Huge. But with patience, positive reinforcement, it doesn't have to be a wrestling match.
Totally. Okay, so we've covered the physical stuff, but our deep dive also uncovered some ways we might be, like, subtly messing with their trust.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, inconsistency, for one.
Yeah.
Like with discipline.
Oh, right. Because cats, they love routine,
Right.
predictability.
Exactly. Makes them feel safe, knowing what to expect.
So when we're all over the place, like one day it's cool if they're on the counter, next day it's like, no way.
That's confusing for them.
Super confusing. Makes it hard for them to trust that we're going to be consistent, you know?
And speaking of confusing, that spray bottle. Classic cat parent move.
Yeah.
But is it really working?
You know, I think a lot of us reach for it out of frustration, right?
Right.
But those punishment-based methods, they rarely work long term. And actually, they can do more harm than good.
Really? How so?
Well, because cats, they don't connect the punishment to the action the same way we do. So spraying them with water, they might just associate you with something negative, not necessarily what they did.
Oh, so they're just like, my human's being mean again.
Exactly. It erodes that trust we've been talking about.
Interesting. So what can we do instead?
Focus on the positive. Catch them doing something good and reward the heck out of it.
Like with treats?
Treats, praise, playtime, whatever gets them going. It's all about positive reinforcement. Show them that good things happen when they make good choices.
Right. And it makes sense that consistency would be key here, too. Like, you can't just be Mr. or Miss positive reinforcement every once in a while.
Totally. It's about building a pattern they can rely on. That's how you build that foundation of trust and security.
Love it. Okay, so we've tackled the big stuff, right?
Right.
No declawing, consistent discipline. But what about all those little things? Like, do those really matter in the grand scheme of cat trust?
They totally do.
Really? Even like brushing them or trimming their nails?
Especially that. Think about it. You're taking the time to care for their physical well-being. That communicates so much.
It's like, I see you, little buddy. I'm here for you.
It shows them we're invested in their overall happiness, not just the convenient stuff. And that goes a long way in building a bond of trust.
You know, it's funny. We treat our cats like these cuddly little babies, but they probably see themselves more like kings and queens of the castle, huh?
Totally. And we got to respect their royal highnesses and their need for, like, space, right?
So true. It's like, don't even think about moving their stuff without a formal request.
Seriously, like you come home, rearrange their furniture, you think you're doing them a favor.
And they're like, excuse me, this is my spot. Meticulously chosen based on, like, ancient feline wisdom.
Exactly. And it's not just about the aesthetics, right? Like, remember those scent glands?
Oh, yeah, we talked about those.
Yeah.
They basically use those to, like, mark their territory, right?
Right. So when we move their stuff, we're basically messing with their whole sense of security. It's
Right.
like if someone came in and rearranged your whole house while you were gone, there's actually like whole studies on this. Cats need consistent access to their claimed spaces, you know? It's huge for their well-being.
Yeah. Fascinating. Okay, so lesson learned, don't mess with their stuff. What about all that cat napping? Like, they sleep so much, I get it, it's cute and all, but is there a method to all that madness?
Oh, totally. It's not just laziness, I promise. It's all tied into their natural rhythms as predators, believe it or not.
Really? Like they're hardwired to sleep like 16 hours a day?
Pretty much. And their sleep cycles, they're actually really complex. They
Yeah.
go through deep sleep, light sleep. They even dream, just like us.
Wait, cats dream? What do cats even dream about?
Right, I know. It's fun to imagine, isn't it? But yeah, during REM sleep, their brains are just as active as when they're awake. So those little twitches, those adorable little chirping sounds they make.
Oh, it's like they're off on some epic adventure.
Totally. So yeah, maybe think twice before you wake them up for like another cuddle session, you know?
Poor little dreamers. Okay, we got to talk about those viral cat videos, specifically the ones that involve, like, sneaking up on them with cucumbers.
Ah, yes, the old cucumber trick.
Yeah, I'll admit I've chuckled at a few. But now I'm wondering, is it actually mean?
Well, think about it from their perspective. A random object that kind of looks like a snake.
Oh, like a predator.
Exactly. It shows up out of nowhere, and their whole system is like, danger, danger.
Makes sense. And here I was thinking they were just scared of vegetables.
Right. But it's not just cucumbers, right? It's anything that disrupts their sense of security, whether it's like a costume
Oh, yeah, the cotton
or
wool.
even just like forcing them into a situation where they clearly don't want to be.
Like being held like a baby when they're clearly trying to escape.
Exactly. Not cool. It's all fun and games until, we lose their trust.
Totally. So, speaking of new experiences, what about, like, introducing a new pet or a new person to a cat who's, already a little wary? How do we not totally freak them out?
Slow and steady wins the race with that one. Gradual introductions are super important.
What does that look like in, like, cat language? I know there was that term scent swapping that came up in our research.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one. Basically, before they even see each other, you swap like a blanket or a toy that has each cat's scent on it.
So they get used to each other's smell first.
Exactly. It's like a little sniff and get to know you before the big meetup.
Smart. And then when they finally do meet face to face, we just let them do their thing, no forcing it.
Exactly. It's all about letting them approach each other on their own terms, at their own pace. Because rushing it, that's a recipe for like a whole lot of hissing and distrust.
This whole deep dive has been seriously eye-opening. Like, I thought I knew my cat, but now I realize there's a whole other level of, like, feline communication I've been missing out on.
Right. It's like learning a whole new language.
Totally. But it's a language worth learning, Because the more we understand about how our cats experience the world.
The stronger our bond can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, who doesn't want a deeper, more trusting relationship with their cat, right? So for all you cat lovers out there, remember those little quirks. They're not just cute, they're communicating something. It's up to us to listen up. And as always, we've got tons of resources linked in our show notes so you can dive even deeper into all the fascinating research we talked about today. Until next time, keep those tails twitching and those cuddles coming.